Yeah.
You came down to earth, eh?
Ain't no
Yeah, I
good.
got to drink with the peasants, man.
Yeah, you was up in the clouds, man. You drinking some regular beer, like regular folks.
This is regular old beer right here.
Like regular folks drink.
Yeah. I still got the good stuff downstairs, so I might go and re-up.
Hey, let's do their things real quick. I don't know how long I'm gonna have these ladies to actually do the intellectual portion of the show.
Well,
let y'all do it. I'm sorry, I just jumped in and took over.
I'm gonna start. I don't know what the alcoholic contents are. I just go to show you get old. You can't even read it, and it's right in your face. But anyway, it's got alcohol. But anyway, it's Samuel Adams. And they done got to the place now where Samuel Adams making Oktoberfest and cherry beer and all that kind of stuff. I say that Oktoberfest maybe till birthday time. You know, I'm October. I always wanted to go to Germany, you know, and go to the Oktoberfest there in Munich.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So one day I might make it if I live that long. Okay.
What's your favorite German beer?
You'll make it, Grandpa Jason. You can't be talking about mortality right now. You'll make it, Grandpa. All right. Yo, give me your pre-rate. We got to roll through this, man. We got to guess who on the time schedule.
Okay. I got to sip it then, right?
Yeah.
Well, I can give you a rating. Okay. Let's see what we got it. Uh-oh. I'll tell you what, it's got a nice head. I didn't even pour it hard. Yeah. Well,
Brandy and I
start out with about 5.5. You know, always have room for improvement. You know,
always room for improvement.
5.5. That's where I'm at. Okay, on with the show.
This is Pat Blue Ribbon, the hard coffee. My boy brought this over one day. I'm like, I'm gonna try this on the show. Let's see. That's actually not bad. It does taste like a frappuccino with like a couple shots of tequila in it, a little bit.
You know, your facial expression and your words are not matching each other.
They're not matching, yeah.
So you sure
it looked like it was disgusting.
It's a heavy syrup. It's heavy on the syrup side of the game. I give it a 5.75 out of 10.
Okay.
It'll get you there.
I don't very seldom get up to 7. I think y'all kind of padding it a little bit.
Well, I tell you what,
5 is padding.
7, 5, 8, 9, and I'm.
Well, I tell you what, my pre-rating on this is a 5. So I'm not expecting much at all. So.
Well, you ain't drank none yet. Now I'll give us some version of what you think it is.
Yeah, 5. That's about.
You ain't.
Yeah, I give it a 5. I'm not impressed at all. That would be my last one. His beer is safe.
So y'all know this must be the not so impressive episode of the beer show, but we're gonna hit y'all with some impressive knowledge. So today I invited 2 special guests. We got Angelique. This is in the order they appear. Angelique, who is working in Pennsylvania. Give a little rundown who you are, Angelique.
I'm Angelique. I am one of Sean's wife's best friends.
I tell you, we had a friendship too, but it's all right.
He's stuck with me forever. But I currently work in youth development for a nonprofit here in one of the other cities in Pennsylvania that's not Pittsburgh. I work in Coatesville. But previously I worked for another nonprofit that dealt specifically with child welfare and kind of on, like, I had a lot of interface with county officials and things like that, but more on the kids' end and helping them navigate and pretty much help them achieve their desired level of independence, because we know that's very hard for youth that are, you know, dealing with parents that don't have it together and they're trying to get it together for themselves. But I also worked with some like teen moms and young adults navigating not only like they would also be in child welfare before, but they're dealing with that, but also having their own children and dealing with custody and you know, everything in between of becoming parents themselves while navigating the legal aspects of it and dealing with all the baby daddy drama and all that fun stuff. So I've done it all.
All right.
And this is Brandy Mount B, one of the elder statesmen of the Michigan State Alumni Spartan Group. Give a little information about yourself, Brandy.
So my name is Brandy, and Sean is like my son that's not really my son, because I'm clearly not old enough to be his mother for real. But I am a foster care supervisor in the state of Michigan. I work in Ingham County. I have been working in child welfare for about 12 years now. I've done a variety of different positions within the child welfare umbrella. Like I said, currently I am a supervisor. I currently oversee all of the private agency cases in Ingham County. So I don't know what else to say, but that's me.
There you go. So the topic that I wanted to bring up today for the group was, we've seen a lot of stuff in the news about all these kids that are being put in cages. We've seen a lot of these things about people getting custody and what is divorce and how all this stuff affects really children. I mean, like, especially in our community, like, the Black community, they have all these stereotypes about the forensic court system that, you got people who are out here who are exploiting it, and you got people out here who don't even know how to use it. So, I mean, y'all know the system. Can y'all kind of dive into it?
Well, the one thing that I will say from my perspective is that it appears in a lot of these conversations that I've had with Black fathers is that they get frustrated or they're intimidated by the court system. And so instead of standing up for themselves and fighting for their rights to be with their children, they just kind of let it go. And then they end up cut out of their kids' life. They end up owing all of this money and child support, not being able to see their kids. Their kids end up without them when what they really need to do is just really go to court and fight for their rights to be with their children. The fathers that I know that actually go through with that process actually end up getting their parental parenting times. They get the child support reduced. So I think that for Black fathers, we really need to encourage them to go through the system and try to take away some of the stigma and the fear that they have with working with the system.
Yeah, and I agree with that. I will say outside of our community, it's commonplace for a father to file paperwork and whatever. I've been privy to cases where, the father was trying to get full custody or trying to get like majority or whatever. And like you said, it's oftentimes not those in our community that are doing that. They're more likely to throw up their hands, which then becomes this cycle of just like bad things that it feeds back into things like welfare and whatever. If there's not the opportunity for two parents to contribute to the growth and nurturing of a child, and we as a community talk about things that we want to solve and make better, but if we're not getting the information out there, and I think it goes back to education. I think a lot of times, not only because of what people experience in their own lives, but we have to look at Hollywood, we have to look at television and what's being depicted, and people think that's the norm. They think it's the norm for the strong Black woman to handle everything, and the dad has to kind of be chased around and hunted to take care of their kids, when that's not what statistics say. that's not what the majority is. It's just then you have the people that see those things and like, well, if my father did this to with my mother, and that's all that I see on TV, and that's what's perpetuated in our music, and that's what's perpetuated in our films, without the education that can be passed around peer to peer or via some of these programs, then it's a self-fulfilling prophecy, if you will.
Y'all ever see, I'm always trying to be funny, right? But you ever see Black AF? I'll say it that way, right?
Mm-hmm.
So in the show, he links everything to slavery.
Yep.
And I'm listening to y'all talk, and all I'm thinking is slavery. Like, this is it.
You're not wrong.
I'm not wrong, right? That's why I was giggling about it. I was giggling because of the show or whatnot. But I'm also reading Brainwashed by Tom Burrell, and it's really a timely read with everything that you guys are saying. So like when I see this breakdown, quote unquote breakdown in the community, I don't blame us. I don't blame us. We gotta have more compassion for us. There's a system that has been structured for hundreds of years, and it has been working on us, and it has created this caricature of the Africans in America, of who we are. It is a whole system behind it. So it's not just these brothers or these sisters or whatever the case is. It's Hollywood, it's the institutions, it's the banking, it's the presidents, all of them. It's the Senate, the Congress, the local politician, the aldermen, the mayors. All of them are in cahoots in destroying our community. They've done a hell of a job. So and so much so that we end up bickering and fighting amongst each other about the ills of the community, about anything. I literally saw somebody yesterday said we got to put the blame on the parents because they accepted $12 million for the murder of Breonna Taylor from the police. They said blame the parents because that's going to stop the system. No, you blame the damn justice system that murdered her, number one, in her home. And number two, the whole system that's built on saving their face and not dealing with the issue. Don't blame the parents. So we don't blame the dad. The dad, we got to work with the dad. He's going to be in the child. He is the child's father, whomever this dad is, right? Mm-hmm. We got to work with them. We got to build them. We got to grow them. We need better mentor. We need better everything. That's the easy answer. We need.
And the other thing I will say is that we need people of color in child welfare positions, and we need people of color in nonprofit positions, because too many times, and I've seen this like working alongside, like when I was doing case management. All my peers were Caucasian and going into the middle of North Philly. And there's a reason why, you're talking about history, there's a reason why social workers are branded as baby snatchers. There's a reason why. And without people of diverse backgrounds representing and being able to pass along knowledge and kind of have the professional, but also have the sister girl conversations of like, this is what you need to do to keep your family together, or to not forcing the family together, but like to make sure that you're doing the best that you can for that child. Because at the end of the day, if it's anything that other cultures do well, is to grin and bear it for the sake of the child. Unfortunately, like you said, history is working against us. But I will say, this is still 2020, and we do have a lot of professionals that are in the field and whatever. It's just a matter of, marketing it to our college students to make sure that they see it as an option. And talking, opening conversation like this, Sean, like opening this kind of conversation for people to hear that it doesn't have to be this way, and people can talk and get information and pool knowledge to be able to uplift the community from within.
Yeah, we can revert back to accountability. Just about everything evolves around accountability. Mm-hmm. And Breonna Taylor, as her lawyer said, they didn't just accept this $12 million. They want a prosecution. They want some accountability. And this is what they haven't gotten. He said he would not stop until there was some accountability, because what's been happening is you pay somebody off and somebody do something in the city, pay them off, et cetera, but you got to have somebody accountable for what they do, for their actions, And I thought that was pretty nice, the way he came about, so she got $12 million. But do we have any accountability? Has anybody been to jail? Has anybody? But it should be. Somebody to be prosecuted for that.
In a sham justice system, that's what you get. You know, but in a system that's set up again, that's designed to undermine us at every point. It's 2020, but ain't shit changed. Like it hasn't. They're just it's the same things. And we keep going for the same okie doke, right? It's like the definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and over and expecting a different result. All people are parroting right now is vote. That's it. That's your only damn solution? Like, do you not see what has happened to us the last 50 to 70 years? Like everything that's happened to us under Trump was happening before Trump. Trump ain't the issue. It's something different. It's something deeper. But we seem to be, I said this last time on the show, we seem to be afraid to take control of our future and our destiny. Like we are passengers in this country. And we were prisoners of this country. And so we were prisoners that became passengers that's accepting whatever the country give us and acting like they gonna grow a conscience. They're not. They're not. It's just how they are. They built this way. The country was built, it was founded this way. They went to war. They did a civil war amongst each other over slavery. And we say the South lost, but the South still got mad control in the Senate, in the House. They got mad lawyers sitting around benches all across the world. They got an ideology that's still out there.
Reparations.
And they got reparations.
All them slave owners got between $300 and $800 per slave that was freed. Yeah. Back then, that's like I gotta look up the number equivalent to today, but that's like thousands of dollars.
Well, that's because the intent of the Civil War was never
money, because we weren't considered human. That was property. We were chattel, and they were paying the people off for the financial value that they lost, not for the slave, but the financial value they lost in giving up their slaves.
The intent of the Civil War was never about freeing the slaves. The slaves just got freed as a byproduct because the North was losing and they needed assistance from the slaves to be able to win. It was never about the slaves. So that's why it was easy for them to go back and give them the reparations for that, because they never wanted to take the slaves away from them in the first place. They just didn't want them to be as powerful as they were in Congress.
That's a good point. I want to ask you guys, considering we're talking the topic we're talking about, what are some? Can you guys help to dispel some myths that we have about those about what you guys do and what you guys are seeing? Like, I for one have been told several times that I'm not sure this is guys in your department, but maybe you might know that if a man and woman aren't married but they have a kid, that in order for the woman to have Section 8, a man can't be in the house.
That's not.
That started back in the 60s. I witnessed it. If you went back to the 40s, it was never a situation that they put upon us as they did in the 60s. And that was kicking the man out of the house.
So that's a real thing. Brandon, is that still happening, or y'all know her?
Huh?
Well, I feel like at this point, you can put the man on your Section 8 application, but then they're going to look at that as another income. So that's going to increase your rent. So most people are going to lie about the man being there because they don't want their rent to go up. Like, why would I pay $400 when I could pay $200 for my apartment? So I feel like policies like that.
It's income based.
Yeah, it's income based. And I feel like policies like that just serve to keep the family disconnected. Because if the goal really of Section 8 is for the family to come together and get the assistance they need until they can stand on their own 2 feet, then why does it feel like it's a penalty if we're both here together versus if she's here by herself?
But like even behind all of that even behind Section 8 or any of that is really joblessness in the community and skills and ability inside of the community. And I just have conversations about, what are we going to do to start hiring our people? What are we going to do to start training our people? And going to college ain't for everybody. That doesn't happen even in other communities. Everybody don't go to college, but they still get a decent living inside of their communities, because they have businesses that hire people from their community that train one another, that you can earn a living wage, and then they invest in their community, and those tax dollars pay for better schooling, better programs, better social programs, and all of this that helps build a community. But until we understand that we got to create the engine that's going to hire our people, we're going to continue to depend on the people who've consistently shown they have no respect for you as people, as beings, as anything other than profit. And I think it's insanity.
But I also think, to your point, that there's so much division even within our community, that those of us that would be in a position to have a business and hire out, those people think that they're better than the people that need the help. So they're not really trying to do it. There's no working together amongst us.
There is a lot of people, and there is a problem in the community where people think, you know, just because you sell T-shirts that you a boss and that you don't need you don't need to collab with nobody to improve yourself. Everybody wants to be a boss, man. Nobody wants to collab. There's tons of people like that's how big businesses do it. Like you see mergers and stuff all the time. It's not people losing. It's people trying to, you know, make their business run more efficiently so you can make more money. You know what I mean? But like we're teaching this idea, or at least it was. I feel like the tides are changing. Grandpa talks about this all the time. The tides are changing because we're being more aware of it. But for a long time, man, it was, if you don't go to school and get a degree, you're a washout, even though 1 out of 5 Americans have a bachelor's degree. So that means 80% of the country's a washout. That's based on the last time I checked it, but it's not high. A lot of people don't even have a bachelor's degree. So let's just get that out the way. If you now it's like, now you see on social media, if you don't got a business, you broke. You work a 9 to 5 and you're a loser. And I don't like people talking like that for real. Like everybody doesn't have to be an entrepreneur. But
what was the person? Was it B. Simone that was saying, like, if the man she dates or whatever can't have a 9 to 5 because then like they're not on par with each other? I'm just sitting here like, I have benefits. You don't. Like, right. You pay all that out of pocket. Retirement plan. I think, but even so, like, I think there's something to be said for professionals, but also professionals in other arenas. Like right now, I'm working on a program with a manufacturing company that wants to kind of market themselves to not to like older high school students. We're having a program for kids ages 12 to 16, just to open their eyes, to look at manufacturing, to look at engineering, to look at other things that are alternative to a college degree or whatever. And one thing that I've noticed in this project and previous interactions with the companies like that is that they often have the money and they will train you if you show the interest. If the community, if there are community organizations or whatever that want to bridge that gap to connect the people to the jobs, there are avenues for that. You know, not everybody has to go to college. Not everybody has to do the, you know, traditional way. At the end of the day, we need people in all jobs. You know, it doesn't matter how you get there.
Slight program correction. Is 34% of people in America have a bachelor's degree. That's still
that's the same thing.
Yeah, it's still a lot of people. It's still a lot of failures based on people's standards right now. But but I mean that. But like to your point though, Angelique, that when I was in high school, when you graduated high school, if you didn't go to college or whatever, you could always go work at the airport. Like they'll pay for you to take an engineering program to how to work on the planes. And like within a year, you're making $55,000, and that's without a college degree. So I mean, like, there's ways around it. It's just like they put the stigma of, oh, you work at the airport, or oh, you work at the factory.
I fault college guidance. I fault the high schools and the emphasis on that. I mean, I went to a high school similar to your wife's that was like, if they didn't see you were going on the right path, they slowly eased you out so you didn't mess up their college acceptance rates. So
say more about that. What that sounds like an agenda. That's sinister.
Well, the school's been around since 1785. That's what it is.
Say, what's the school's name?
Nah, I ain't gonna say it. But what I will say is, I blame the school administrations. I blame the school districts. I've learned in my field, because I work more with the youth. There is a need for life skills and job readiness skills and things like that. Like, with the absence of that, like, before there was home ec, there were these kinds of jobs, these kinds of things that they taught you in school. They don't do that anymore. I mean, they don't even teach you cursive anymore. So it's without that kind of preparation, they're gearing you towards either you do college or you work at McDonald's. And we know that that's not the spectrum of things. But they only are selling you on that worst case scenario. That's not the reality. Like you said, I would say kids are not told today that they can go to the work at the airport. They're not told today that they can take these apprenticeship programs. I work in a county, luckily, that there is a whole school system. It's called TCHS, and they specifically focus on like skill-based things. So you can graduate from high school with your like beautician's license. You can graduate from high school with all these other, like in like mechanical and engineering. You can do those kinds of trade things as a part of your high school experience. Unfortunately, most school districts don't do that.
About McDonald's, I want to go back to that McDonald's.
Mm-hmm.
I was over in Switzerland. I've said this before. And the young man was from Portugal. He was working in Switzerland there in the CERN. And we didn't even ask him, but he must have sent something maybe from some other travelers coming through there. This is what he said. He said, he was working at Burger King. He said, this is not what you think. He said, over here, you make a decent living. So I'm thinking the same thing. Now, what it is McDonald's is cheating, because if you make a person a different living, you pay people more, you sell your food for more. That's what they do. Cars, to make a profit, you raise the price of the car. So why then a man can make a decent living at Burger King in Switzerland and he can't make a decent living working at McDonald's here?
Capitalism.
Yeah, that's what it's about.
You want to channel people to other things. And I can vouch for that. I used to live in Spain, and people that were working at the Burger Kings or McDonald's were doing, like, you could support a family on that kind of stuff.
But they also got free healthcare and education. Let's not leave that out. That's tremendous.
Yeah.
That's tremendous.
Take Germany, for instance.
But capitalism is the reason why we don't have it here. So you
got the free healthcare and education. And then you can get an education, a university education, and leave there and go anywhere in the world and get a job.
Mm-hmm. Now it's different if university education is free. That's different. I say it's different because I'm not a proponent to go to school and get your college degree. I'm not a proponent of that.
Yeah, right.
Now, if it was free, my song would change. Mm. But going into debt $200,000 for a damn undergrad degree, like, that's insanity.
Right.
That's insanity. That's what that is.
And it's just not what happens in other countries. Which is trippy.
Talking about the German industry, and they were saying, well, the Germans got free health care and they got this university you can go for free. They say, but their taxes are high. Well, that's what the taxes are for. They was, in fact, at the time, they were making more, even with the high taxes and the free education, free health care, they were still getting $40-something an hour in the industry. So you can see that thing goes two ways,
Yeah, people, I think every time.
I don't want to pay no tax if you're going to get some for your tax money.
Right.
I'll pay them half my taxes if they're going to give me free education, free health care, and free all this. Yeah.
But I can tell you as an entrepreneur, we pay way too much. I can tell you as an entrepreneur, we pay way too much in taxes. So you're almost paying 30, 35, 40% out in taxes anyway. Mm-hmm. And you don't get nothing for it. That's like, we not getting nothing for it. So people are acting like we getting something. You getting abused and you're not getting anything. I say abuse me and push me on the floor, let me bump my elbow, but give me health care and education. I'll take that. I'm getting abused anyway. I might as well, get skin up my elbow. You know what I mean? Get that down to the white meat. I'll take that.
There's some things I want to see if y'all got some similar stories. I remember Brandy was telling us, like a year or so ago about some of the horror stories she had on her side of the game. Can you let us know about some of the stuff that you've seen when working in the system?
Well,
you too, Angela. You're next.
One thing that really comes to mind that I was thinking about in this whole conversation is when I look at like the entry of children into foster care. Black people make up 18% of our population around here, but we're 48% of the people that are in foster care. So why is it this high disproportion of the people who are entering foster care being Black as opposed to white kids being brought into foster care? Well, we also have a higher rate of people calling in complaints on Black children than on white children. You have a higher rate of white children exiting foster care, whereas Black children are lingering in the foster care system. So why is that happening? I think that a lot of it has to do, even in an adoption, the white children are getting adopted and the Black children are growing up in foster care until they age out of the system. And then once they age out of the system has been their family. So what do they do at that point? I think a lot of it has to do with our policies and how they are enforced on our families. And what I mean by that is I had 2 clients. Both of these clients had a child that passed away. One client was Black, one client was white. The Black father whose child passed away, he was smoking marijuana because he was depressed and that was his way of coping with it. They were ready to terminate his parental rights because they said he wasn't cooperating with the case service plan. He's smoking weed. He's not doing what he needs to do. This father over here is using cocaine, but he's saying that he is suffering from depression. Well, he has experienced the loss. So that's why he's using these drugs. So we need to keep giving him more and more time. But why is that? Why is the white guy getting more time and the Black guy, we're trying to terminate his parental rights? Absent of everything else, it's because one is Black and one is white. Like, there's no other explanation for that.
That is the reason.
One thing you just said in between there, you talked about when we were mentioning adoption, about one thing that I thought was interesting, because I used to see these, like the plans for the kids, like their independent living plans. And you'd be surprised or not of how many, what the kids whose end goal, like their court goal, was adoption, as opposed to those whose court goal was reunification. In the child welfare world, if you look a certain way and adoption is your court goal, it's a placeholder. It's whatever. Reunification means that you can return to your family and whatever. I feel like more effort was put into bringing kids back to their families and giving making sure those families are held accountable for things. If a kid looked a certain way as opposed to not. And then we don't even, we haven't even gone into the whole juvenile probation arm of things. Because I also worked with kids that were on probation, and let me tell you, those that were the hardened criminals did not look how you thought they would look. If I was driving a van and we got pulled over or whatever, and you're looking to see who the worst one in there, promise you it was Chad. Promise you it was the one that I picked up from a mansion and not the one that I picked up, in the middle of the hood. But it's about chances that are given. It's about, whether it's in child welfare, whether it's in whatever, because even when we talk about chances, we talk about parents, like, like you just said, we're giving chances to this one that is clearly consuming a more volatile substance, but not as many chances to the one that is using something a lot lesser, and they're both coping. But it's unfair.
the court system's like, well, it's obviously the dude's got money if he's buying pure cocaine. You know, I mean, the daddy was just buying weed. He obviously doesn't have a high paying job, so we can't trust.
Obviously poor.
Yeah, he can't trust his child with his pori. If he was doing cocaine, it might be different.
Sean, I'm pretty sure he was doing crack. It's just that when you do a substance screen, crack comes out as cocaine. So it all comes out as cocaine. He was doing crack.
But if she picked him up at the mansion, he was doing cocaine.
There's differences.
Cocaine users tell you crack is poor people drugs. We don't do that.
Yeah, it's definitely a difference between crack and cocaine on how they book you. Like you can get out and still look how you look like when you went in on a cocaine charge. You're gonna look very different. You're going in and come back out on a crack charge. You got, what is that? Is that still like a mandatory minimum 25 years for crack? Like cocaine?
I don't know. Ask your future president, Joe Biden.
Like cocaine is like what? I'm just throwing numbers for I remember. Cocaine is like a 5-year sentence, and crack is 25 years to life, isn't it?
Yeah, I believe it's 1 to 18 though, or the weight is 1 to 18. It's like 18 times worse.
But it's all discretion. It's on the judge.
It's all discretion, and that's where we keep getting beat
all
in the head
judges
by the system.
that are put in these places are those conservative judges, then you're gonna get the higher end as opposed to the lower.
Mm-hmm.
I hear you with the conservative judges, but to be truthful, the liberal white judges are the same damn way. Like liberals just in front of your face, they'll tolerate you. They're quiet about it. They're not overly overt racist, like the picture of what we have as the aggressive over racist Republican. The liberals, they'll smile with you, they'll drink with you, they'll let you drink at their water fountain. But when they go behind them doors and they vote, or they're the judge on that bench and they got discretion, and your little dark skin walk in, you is in trouble. They just gonna do it with a smile on your face. Yeah, well, it's just case law. It's just, I don't really have a choice. I really want to, but you got 20 years. Yeah, the little white boy walk in, did the same thing. He get 20 months of probation. This,
Well, not even just
I gotta throw the book at you. Ain't nothing I can do about it. There's nothing you can do about it. You don't give a damn about you and your community. That's it. Black people. My thing is, black people gotta wake up. We just give them way too much credit.
They're gonna give him 20 years, and they gonna come off the bench and give him a hug before they take him away.
Right? Yeah, and him and the family gonna hug him because they all been brainwashed too, right?
We have people that
I got issues with us,
but as a group, we don't back them up. Back in the days of the Iran-Contra, Maxine Waters, San Jose Mercury News knew that the crack cocaine that was coming out of Arkansas, flow in by the CIA. She jumped on the thing and she went with it. We should have been behind her 100%. Next thing I know, they shut her up. San Jose Mercury News shut up, and all of a sudden it disappears. But the fact is, our government was responsible for that crack cocaine back in the day of the Iran-Contra. Was coming in through Arkansas.
Talking about the 80s?
But we should,
Yeah.
No,
Talking about the 80s?
It would be the 80s, yeah. We're during the panic of the when
Reagan's in office, Oliver North, the Cold War, that whole conversation and talk.
Was that with Noriega?
Noriega
was part of it. Yeah.
The Contra though was with Ortega. Noriega was with Panama. He was the bunch, he was. But Ortega was fighting for some social justice in his country. So it was Ortega was the one that the Iran-Contra thing, where the Contras was giving the stuff to the United States to take it to sell,
Okay.
And our government was in on it. And Maxine Waters tried to expose it. But she didn't have the support of her people, because if she had her, they maybe could have put a stop to it. It was flowing in. No, they checked one person up, the other person said, wow. And the same thing applies to Colin Kaepernick. When he first hit, we should have been behind him 100%. He stood out there, and I give him credit for some. He put his whole career on the line, and so did the guys in 1968 at the Olympics. Tommy Smith and them. The thing is, when we get somebody to stick their neck out, we got to go out there and put our head alongside of them. We can't just sit back and.
But Negroes are afraid. They're scared though. They're scared that they're gonna lose their crumbs that they got in white supremacy.
You take I might have a job if I get out there, what happened to the guys in '68 Olympics? They were 20 years, they blackballed them and everything just because they tried to express themselves, you know, and they talk about the freedom of speech. And when this is what they did, they were on television 20 years, they couldn't hardly get a job. They lost their families and everything else because of their standing up. When they, if the community had got behind them, maybe that all that wouldn't have happened.
Well, speaking of how like the community get behind stuff, have y'all heard about this this group of Black people in Georgia? They done bought 90 acres of land, like 19 families bought 90 acres of land. And I'm like, you know, that they're trying to make a safe space for Black people. And I'm like, that's all well and good, but you done publicized every you done publicized every evil white person in the world. Where you at? Like, you know, it's one thing. It's like you said, Uncle Pooh, man. It's one thing to build up, and I agree, it's great, it's a beautiful thing. But like, are these people gonna? Are they gonna have their own? Are they gonna make sure people have their own way to defend themselves? Like, we got to think about that side of the game too, man. It's two sides to it.
But look, I had this conversation the other day.
Says it probably won't pan out that well. I mean, I'm outside of Philly. You know, the move happened and they mowed down a whole neighborhood.
Speak on it.
When I lived in
1985.
Mexico, we can talk about the Zapatistas that are a peaceful group of, you know, Mayan descendant people, brown people that are constantly to this day harassed by the government. So, and they have their own territories. So look what we do with our Native Americans, man. Yeah. I wish them well. I hope everything works out for them. Will I be shocked if things go left? No. I will be very sad.
I think we got to build. I think we got to build more of those cities. I think we got to support those cities. I really just think we need to support ourselves through the supply chain. But my thing is, you got to build that city and you got to dare them to burn it down in 2020, knowing it's going to be under the lights, camera action of the entire world. True. You talk this trash about leading the world and the morality and all of that. Do it again. The last time it happened was 1985 in this country, right? And they burned down all them cities, not just Black Wall Street. They decimated all sorts of cities across these borders. I'd say do it again. Detroit, you got to put them on Front Street, right? The only hope of Black people in this country, in my opinion, is to come together and work as one. But you got to get the world and the UN on your side, because these people ain't gonna act right. They ain't gonna act right, man. They ain't gonna act right. They just it's just who they are. When they reveal to you who they are, just believe them. They have shown you for centuries, like literally centuries, and we're still trying to figure out. Black people don't even want revenge. Most Black people don't even talk about reparations anymore. All they talking about is equality. Equality. All they're talking about is equality. And you get all this resistance and putback and death and threats and shot and all of this. Equality, man, these people can't be negotiated with. It ain't, man. Black people better get together. You better buy together. You better shop together. You better live together. You better protect together. And you damn sure better educate your kids together. What they say, only a fool will let your enemy educate your children. We wonder how we ended up in this situation. By the time they get in the third grade, they building prisons for your children. They know this is a science. They know exactly what the hell they doing. And we just send our kids to the schools, to the slaughter, right? Over and over again, not feeding them anything about who they are and why they should even consider working together. Like what
are you about to say, Brandon?
Drives me up a wall.
Well, what I was gonna say is he said equality. And one of the things that we've been working on in our county is looking at equality versus equity. Because Ingham, because a lot of times what happens with the foster care system is like these parents need to be afforded equal opportunities to be able to get their children back. But equal opportunities just means everybody has to be given the same thing, versus an equitable opportunity, which is custom made for you. So what I mean by that is, say that they need to improve their parenting skills, so we send them all to a parenting class. That's an equal opportunity. But this person over here can't, they read and write at a third grade level. So going to this class is not really going to help them because they're not understanding the material that's being given to them. So what they need is a specialized plan for them so that they can get these skills that you're trying to get them. That's equity. That's what we need, not just equality.
Where you at, Pops?
Oh,
What'd you say?
Yeah, where you at? What you thinking?
Oh, I'm listening.
What's happening, sis?
Hey, bro, how you doing?
I'm good. How you doing?
I'm wonderful. Bye-bye.
no, that makes a lot. Look, so let me ask you this though, because there's always to come back to the question. So since y'all work for different, like, oh, actually does work for the government, but like she works in a situation where she helps people. How do y'all feel as Black women working in this system and like knowing that y'all might be the only person that look like you that y'all see, or what do y'all think? What impact do y'all think y'all have made?
I think it's all the more important for us to remain in these kinds of positions and encourage others to do the same. Just thinking about even, when I was working as a case manager, the breakdown of the kinds of cases that I would get, like I truly, and my supervisor at the time was actually a family friend. So he knew that what kind of experience that those young women or young men were going to get dealing with me. And it was definitely something that they needed. They needed somebody that was going to understand them. They needed to not have to explain themselves every 2 minutes to somebody. And somebody that's going to, like I said before, like kind of sister friend them, but like say it in a way that they'll understand and be able to navigate the system. I think it's all about navigation. We know it's not everything is black and white, and even in child welfare, not everything is black and white. Not everything is you do this, you get this. We've been talking about it this whole call. It's often about how you talk to people, about how you approach people, about who you know, and whatever. So being that connector and that person that can help them navigate, I think has been the like joy of working in this arena. I'll say like there's a lot of nonsense, but the joy has been, having them, for me, youth, be able to navigate and reach their level of independence and beat the odds, because we know that all of the systems are made against them. It's not made for them. So helping them beat the odds and be able to go against the statistics that are out there and achieve something. And, even if, the world smacks them in the face and, stereotypes perpetuate themselves, that they'll at least be a little bit better off having worked with someone that looks like them and can understand them.
In this capitalist system, people are losing their homes. People are be going hungry. People don't have no jobs. But the theme is like, I did well on the stock market. This seemed to be the thing. Everything involved around some money. I did well on the stock market. You don't care about the folks that didn't have a meal last week or ain't got a place to stay, or home burn out or what have you. I did well on the stock market. That seemed to be the theme of this country to me.
Yeah.
So capitalists, forget y'all. Hey, my stock.
I'm sure Brady would agree. Like we could, with our skill sets, we could probably make a killing elsewhere doing other things. So, we could do we could do other things and be completely fine, but it takes a certain kind of person and a certain kind of calling. For me, I'm a preacher's kid. And for me, it's me acting out my faith in helping those that otherwise would not have that help, to the chagrin of my dad, because he wants me to go physically into a church building. But I don't always have time for that. But it's me, making faith on the forefront and being a verb and being a catalyst to help people's lives.
Being a verb, I like that.
I agree with what you're saying. Like, I think I could be anywhere else doing anything else, making way more money than what I'm making. Not that I don't make good money. It's not about the money to me though. For me, it's about me giving back to my larger community, me trying to help because I see that there are more Black children, there's more Black families involved in this system. So, what can I do? I mean, I can't impact every single one of these Black families, but all of the ones that come across my path, I'm doing everything that I can to make sure that you're getting every opportunity you need to have in order to be able to get your children back. Now, with that being said, sometimes parents just aren't good people and they just shouldn't have their kids. And if that's the case, I tell them that too. Like, listen, you're just not a good person. So this is not going to work out for you. So let's figure out what other things in life you can do because parenting is not the thing that you can do. I'm just going to keep it real with you.
This is not your ministry.
Yeah, no, this is not your ministry, not your calling. We're going to find you something else. But I think that a lot of what keeps me grounded is my faith and the fact that I feel like I'm doing something to serve God's purpose to help his children out, to lead them back to reunifying families or lead them into better situations than what they're coming from.
I think
And I'll even
y'all are
say,
blessed people because I'm a capitalist and I did well on the stock market.
but the other thing I'll say, you said you were talking before about like
Congratulations.
putting people in, putting people like letting other people educate your children and whatever. And to an extent, that's, you know, essentially, I guess what my parents did. They put me in private school. They put me in an environment that, you know, I was one of. And I will say it's helped me in the sense that I'm able to navigate, I'm able to see a lot of things because the important thing is not just to throw them in there and just be like, all right, that's the only education you
But
have.
it's not that it doesn't work for everyone, right?
Right.
I was the only Black person to graduate my high school,
Mhm.
you know, as well. So I was in the environment. It's not that it doesn't work for everyone, just it doesn't work for the majority of
Right.
us, right? So some of
What
us
I'm
are
saying is
slipped
that,
through and it'll
right.
work. But
What I'm
But
saying is
networks
that
go in.
it helped me channel like what I do now. Specifically, what I do now is, you know, in youth development, you create opportunities that otherwise those youth would not have if not for the work that you put in. So being exposed to high level things and all that I got through private school just motivates me to want to show all the other kids those kinds of things. Like there's no reason why um you know, only a certain tax bracket gets exposed to things just because, you know, of how America is and how your family benefited while mine didn't or whatever. I think it's a part of a part of those of us who have gone to those private schools. It's part of our duty to shed the light and kind of crack the door wide open in terms of the things that we've been exposed to and giving back to those that otherwise would not have that chance.
Well, it's getting a little late in there. I know you guys probably go back to work in a second. But what we normally do is, you know, we kind of gather and do like final thoughts for the, you know, topic of the day. You know, you guys. Brandon, you go first since you talked second the first time.
I think my final thoughts would be I want to implore other Black people to please look into how you can become foster parents, how you can become mentors to these youth that are in the foster care system. They need more people that look like them to be around them. So maybe you can't take them into your home, but could you be a volunteer who could take them and show them how to fill out a job application, take them and show them stuff like how to tie a tie? You know, can you teach them how to cook, how to set a table, how to sit properly at a table? All of the things that they're not going to be learning anywhere else, and no one else is trying to put that into our children.
Okay. Angelique, you got a final thought?
I'll piggyback on that. It's just think about those kids that are in foster care and those that have already been passed up by their parents, either on purpose or because they just couldn't take care of them. And I would say, yeah, the community centers, the organizations, volunteer, be mentors, be whatever, because it makes a world of a difference to people, to those kids. Like, they're going to remember that, and it helps them. I always, what is it? I forget the name of the person, but the quote is, "Every child is one caring adult from being a success story." Every child is one caring adult from being a success story. And that's been my professional mantra, because there's little things that we can do as adults that have gone through things, whether we had same experiences or different, but just the smallest thing can impact a kid's life immensely. So, us that are better off than they are, or whatever, pay it forward and do what we can to uplift those that do not have. Just out of the goodness of your heart.
Oh, I forgot to say one last thing about that. So y'all got anything you want to plug? Anything you want to point people to? No, I mean, like you just said, you want people to do these things, but you gotta like point them in the right direction. So Brandon, you said being adopted. What websites, what information you got to point people in that direction that you can just quickly shout out?
If you go to www.michigan.gov and you look up the Department of Health and Human Services, if you go on their website, they will have information on how to become a foster parent, and also on how you can get involved in some mentoring and things of that nature.
What about you, Angelique? What information you got?
I'd say, because I'm on the nonprofit end, so look up your local nonprofits, because they always need help. Yeah, you can. The big organizations and companies will always have help, like the YMCA's, the Big Brother, Big Sister. They will always have help. They always will have, because just by the fact that you can think of them off the top of your head, other people are too. So look up the smaller organizations that are making an impact, and that comes down to data, that comes down to evidence-based programming, to actually make a change. A lot of nonprofits that come into cities are coming to fill grants and then move out. They don't really stick around that long. So looking at longevity, looking at relevance and impact, and supporting those nonprofits that actually need the help, and often, I don't know, nonprofits are not always like, oh, let's just go and help kids. Some of the organizations that are like core reporters and child advocates, they come from nonprofits. So just looking into what they are, and then helping where you can. I don't really have any specific website or anything, but look for your local ones.
All right, Uncle Pooh, what's your final thought? You got anything to plug? You're on mute, brother.
Me?
No, Uncle Pooh is on mute.
That was me. That was me, Dad. Yeah, so I just say, I beat the same drum, man. It's only, I got a new name for it this week. I'm calling it Black Nationalism. I was listening to Brother Malcolm's The Ballad of the Bullet. So my recommendation would be to check out The Ballad of the Bullet. You can look that up on YouTube. We got to start working together like this. It just there's nothing else to say. We got to start working together, period, point blank. So check out that. I would also recommend Black Power, book by Kwame Ture, Black Power, The Politics of Liberation, particularly leading up to this vote election. Like, educate yourself with some understanding of some of the great thought that's come before you. And then finally, Brainwashed. I would throw that out there. Tom Burrell is awesome. But I got a laundry list of books that I just think we need to read. We need to understand, particularly before we be out here talking, because man, our folks be out here talking, they ain't got no damn base and knowledge and history. And boy, it's just, they destroying us, right? Because we listening to these folks, it's crazy.
Oh, Grandpa, what's your final thought?
I ran across, exposed to Jeffrey Robinson. He was on YouTube. He's ACLU, the American Civil Liberties Union. He's a graduate of Harvard. And he came out with some stats. The number of people in jail, the number of people got killed and everything. And honestly, you can draw a picture and see where we're at, because the narrative has always changed. Instead of they want to point at somebody when they should be pointing this way. And he exposed the thing, and you can see the reason we are where we are now is because they take the narrative and turn it around, you know. But his name is Dr. Jeffrey Robinson, and he's a Harvard graduate. And if you listen to him, you can almost see a picture of where we're at and where we've been.
That's your final thought, Grandpa? You're not gonna give you a catchphrase? All right, cool. Thank you, everybody, especially our special guests today. You guys are always welcome to come back. You know, when you have time. I know, it took me 2 years to get Brandy to come on, even though we only been on the show for one. But it was a great conversation. We love having people on, and thank you for the resources you pointed us to, and dispelling some myths. We might have to do another series on this probably after the election, when Lord knows what else happens. But thank you guys. We'll be on next week. I have no idea what the topic is next week. We'll have to figure it out. But thank you, everybody.
Bye.
Peace. Bye.